Welcome to the show. I am excited to have special guest Jessica Yarbrough to the show. Jessica, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Jeff.
I am super excited to dive into your hidden edge, unpack it, really get deep and give people some practical advice. Can you share to the audience what is your hidden edge?
Yeah, my edge is to be able to really unlock someone's core genius and show them how to build an expert business and monetize that genius at the highest level.
Awesome. And I love that because I believe everybody has that inside. So, how did you discover that edge? Where did you cultivate it? Where was it born? Kind of give us a backstory into that.
Well, I know that I had this innate gift. I discovered at a young age. My mother used to say, you always have the ability to make something out of nothing. When someone perceives there's nothing there, you know how to pull that out. And I remember guiding people and giving them advice all throughout my life and just seeing the ahas in people that I would just meet in passing, in life. I started working in business at a very young age. And every time I would go into a company, I would see possibility, I would see potential, I would see things that were broken that could be fixed. I did this at a very young age where I would go in and just suddenly transform a business. And I did it over and over and over again. And I ended up building a startup company here in San Diego and having a spiritual awakening. And that led me to about a 4-year hiatus where I did a full deep dive journey into personal development work. And I backpack around the world. I studied deep into meditation and Eastern philosophy. And, all of that, I do believe, played a big part in where I landed today. Learning how to, as cheesy as it sounds, love myself, take care of myself on a deeper level, allowed me to understand how I wanted to channel those gifts into people that I felt connected to and that I felt shared similar values in terms of family and integrity and authenticity and connectedness and all of those things. So I believe I had the gift already. But my journey throughout my life allowed me to then channel that into working with entrepreneurs, which is what I do today. And instead of just looking at a business, which I absolutely do, as I'm a strategist, I'm able to look at the person and really see what sometimes they're unable to see themselves.
Love it. So, a couple questions that come out of that is one, that seeing possibility, seeing potential. Where was that developed from? Was it parents, right? Was it how did you kind of, because that's obviously an attitude that is
Yes.
cultivated. So where was that born?
Well, my mother is a total badass.
Okay.
She's retired now, but she was a woman who really made it in a very male dominated industry.
Okay.
She rose despite, the opportunities for women were very limited, back in her day. And she ended up being a sought after leader and president of the National Association of Women in Construction. I didn't want to go into that male dominated industry. That didn't interest me. But I had this role model of a woman that, really did do it all, right? Who was able to, be the career woman and be a mom. And so I remember wanting to be something at a very young age and being very hungry for growth and all of that. So I do think it was nurtured, but I also believe that I came into this world, with a high level of drive.
Mhm.
I had parents that supported that. And I also believe that I came into this earth with a high level of resilience and this grit and determination to succeed. And if you ask me who are the most successful people I know, it's people with those traits. That we know that entrepreneurship is a roller coaster. I say outside of parenthood, it is the biggest personal development journey that you can go on. I still believe parenthood takes the trophy.
Right.
Um, you know, but those skills are what separates the good from the great, is that ability to stand up in the face of adversity, to fail forward, to, pick yourself up and continue on, even when you may not see success in as quick a time frame as you'd like.
Gotcha. And I'm always interested to hear this. Is there any mantra, any kind of saying that stuck with you from your mom as she was going through this journey? Things that she would say over and over again that would keep you positive.
I mean, my mom always said you can do anything and be anything that you want. It was
Right.
really simple, and I believed that. I knew that to be true. And anytime fear has come up for me, I still went through the emotions of feeling fear. I'm not immune to fear, and I always share these stories with my clients where, and they're shocked sometimes that I went through that, but I'm willing to sit with those feelings and to see what's behind them and to move through them, because I've seen it over and over and over again that what I want is on the other side of that fear. And I do believe, for any of your listeners that are spiritual, I do believe in the divine unfolding of your life. And when you're going through something and you're in the thick of it, it's almost like you're at a crossroads. You don't know it. Are you going to move through the fear and get to, from the winding journey? Are you just going to leap over to where you're supposed to be? Or are you going to fall back into old habits and go into fear? And you're going to have this long, winding journey to eventually get to where you want to go and who you want to become. So we're faced with these choices throughout our life, and we can't see them in the moment. We see them a time period later, a year later, 2 years, 5 years later, you say, oh, that's why I got it. Funny, this was hilarious. I get why I'm supposed to go through this. I get why I was faced with these. And if I didn't get that lesson, I understand why I got it 2, 3, 4 more times until I woke up and took the action I needed to become the person that I'm supposed to be.
And let's go right into fear, because I think so many people are gripped with fear, right? They feel
Yes.
it. They feel that twinge all of a sudden, like the mind kicks in. No, you shouldn't do this. It's scary. You're
Mhm.
not going to be successful. All these things. So, what are some practical tips you use in your life that have allowed you to? I call it a mindset muscle, right? You build that mindset muscle. You have a different relationship with fear. All of a sudden, you crave. Hey, when that kicks in, I know I need to go because that's the exact place where I'm going to grow from. So, what are some practical things that you do when you feel that fear twinge?
Well, first of all, I encourage all your listeners to listen to their intuition. Okay.
Okay.
Our body is sending us signals, right? If you're full, it's probably a good time to stop eating, or you're going to get a stomach ache. If you're sitting at a job where every time you get in the car, you feel this dread come over you. You're sitting at your desk, and I even have heard, colleagues and past clients describe it as they felt like their soul was leaking out of them.
Mm-hmm.
Trust those intuitions. If you're in a toxic relationship, these things. Your mind may not be able to accept them yet, but your body, your intuition knows. And so, what I encourage you to do whenever it's something major and you'll feel it beginning to boil and like it's going to overflow, and that you're going to have to make a major life decision, the biggest advice I can give you is not to discuss it with those around you,
Mm.
because they will oftentimes talk you out of the very thing that in your heart you're supposed to do. You're seeking outside validation. And oftentimes you will ask people who love you, but they don't necessarily want what is best for you, because what's best for you might scare the heck out of them.
Yep.
Because if you follow your path and your truth, you are you're showing them that you're going forward in life, and they might be just caught in a pattern of fear. One of the most empowering decisions I ever made in my life, the most empowering decision, was to walk away from the company that I helped build.
Okay.
So what I recommend for anyone for those major life decisions, that you go and into a quiet place and you isolate for a day or two, whatever it may be. It doesn't actually take long. So if you need to go rent a cabin in the woods, or rent a house at the lake or the beach, do that. And you get really, really quiet and you listen. You don't ask, you make that decision. It will be the most empowering decision of your life. And you go forward with it. When I made that decision to walk away from my company, I didn't ask anyone. I sat with it. It took me several days. And when I came back and I shared that, my family, as much as I love them, were like, "Are you crazy? Why would you do this? This is crazy." I mean, I would say at least 60, 70% of the people were very upset that
Right.
I made that decision. And a handful were like, "Yeah, that's awesome. Go for it." Um, and yet it was what I needed to do. If I would have asked everybody, they would have talked me out of it. "Are you crazy? You have stable income, you have the title, you have all the things that you want, you built it, this was your dream. Why would you walk away? That's irresponsible." I can imagine all the layers that would have been thrown onto me until it got so heavy that I would have felt stupid
Right.
for making that decision. And I would have continued on that path for however long, 10 years, 15 years, until I got the courage to follow that truth once again, or until I had a pivotal moment, a crisis of some sort in my relationships or my health that pushed me to make the decision I should have made 10 or 15 years before.
I love that point of not discussing it with those around you, because to your point, they might be in a different place in their life. Maybe they, their loved ones, they
Yes,
don't want to see you get hurt. They don't want to see you risk it all. So they're going to be very conservative and say, hey, you probably shouldn't do this. Right. That's number one. Number two, hey, but just be with yourself. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people, when they hear this, like, go to a cabin or somewhere by yourself for 1 or 2 days. And they're like, well, why would I do? I love that thought. Right. I'm right in line with you, because too many times we don't sit and just listen. We're busy,
right.
busy, busy. We're totally connected by social media, email, like we're constantly wired. Some of the greatest parts of my day is when I just go for a walk and I'm without my phone and I'm by myself in nature. And we need to tap into that intuition so much more. So that was leaving the company. That was that 4-year hiatus. So after you leaned into your intuition, after you made the leap, what was that 4 years like in growth and really exploring yourself?
I mean, it was incredible. I was able to understand why I had made decisions that I'd made, how my parents had influenced me, the belief systems that I took on. There are some great things, like we were chatting about before the show, that your parents can give you. And then there's also a lot of patterns and limiting beliefs that you do have to break when you're raised by the previous generation. And so looking at all of those and understanding what I really wanted my life to look like. I saw very clearly I would never go back into an office again and work in that setting, and that I wanted freedom. I would not be limited to whatever 1 week 2 weeks vacations a year. I really wanted to do life on my terms and to be able to travel. And I also knew, especially circling back when I decided to start my company, that even though I could have easily gone and gotten a job and made more money immediately, easily,
Right. Right.
I knew that this was the harder path, the more challenging path, but I also knew I would be able to be far more successful as an entrepreneur, income and freedom and time and fulfillment wise, than I would have taking the easy way out, which is to get a job, which give me a week in it, and I would have already started to resent and regret my decision.
Gotcha. Okay. So 4 years is a quite a long time to be exploring. What are one or two just big aha moments where you were kind of blown away in the journey, that you just said, wow, I can't believe I just learned that, discovered it about myself, whatever it was?
I had already gotten some validation for the getting quiet, and that just became more. Following my intuition became really huge,
Okay.
and though, like the spiritual teacher Ram Dass says, the quieter you become, the more you can hear. And so I saw that again and again and leaned on my intuition, and also saw, was really cool on my journey, that no matter where you are, opportunities, if you're open, will unfold for you. Like incredible things will unfold for you. So this belief that you have to be in this place in your, environment where you've always grown up and do things the traditional way, is an illusion.
Hmm.
Like there is opportunity will follow you wherever you go if you're open to it. So that was a big aha moment. And then the other one, honestly, was self care.
Okay.
When I worked in my corporate job, I was in my 20s, and it was startup and it was grueling, and self care wasn't at the forefront. I had
Mhm.
started doing yoga, but I learned so much on that 4-year journey about how self-love is self-care, like absolutely, and how important it is to exercise not only for my body, for physically like looking good, but for
Mhm.
my mind and what a release it is, and how to meditate, and the importance of being intentional, being mindful, and eating organic foods. And what if I look at who I was in my early 20s compared to who I am a long time later, you know self-care has been the theme for many many years, and learning to take care of myself in a really powerful intentional way.
Yeah, I love the self love piece, and my wife and I joke around about old Jeff versus new Jeff. Right, the old Jeff with not the habits you needed, not the behaviors that were really leading to the optimal
Right.
performance, the optimal self, probably the same in your boat. So let's go back to bringing this out, bringing this, unique ability to bring the best out of other people, their hidden genius. How do you do that with your clients and people you interact with?
Well, it's a couple different things. I mean, one, I do look at their past wins, their past
Okay.
successes. I do look at what lights them up, what brings them joy. Also, sometimes it's easier to look at what repels them, what turns them off. Some people are more focused on that, and then we can narrow in. And I use my intuition as well to help pull out what is their genius. I asked questions. I'm very consultative in nature. My
Okay.
clients hire me and say, tell me what to do. But this process is much more a process of inquiry, the initial
Mhm.
process to uncovering their genius. And I'll have people come to me and they've been doing 10 different things. A lot of people come to me in the trap of the generalist,
Mhm.
trying to be all things to all people, jack of all trades, master of none. And
Yep.
in order to build really successful and build expert authority, we have to get them highly focused on the very thing that they do best, and build their positioning around it, and be intentional around it. And so a lot of them come to me and they're not even sure. They're like, I'm really good. I can do all these things. I'm someone that can wear all these different hats. And we have to look at what is your biggest and best gift that you bring to your clients. What is something that you can solve that no one else can? And the problem most people have is that we are innately blind to the things that we're great at.
Right.
The rest of the world, we just assume they can do what we do. We're like, oh, that's 5 minutes. I can do that. Boom, I see it. Well, that's not most people. Most people aren't able to do what you're able to do. And so one of the things that hold people back, and I think especially in the entrepreneurship journey, they're just trying to figure it out, is where's the clarity? They lack clarity. What am I supposed to do? I can do all these things. I've done all these different things, but what's the one thing I'm supposed to be doing that's going to fulfill me, light me up, and help me make really good money as well?
And I love how you said there that we're blind to our greatness, right? That unique trait, skill, whatever it might be that we discount so quick, but yet so many people would just absolutely die to have that ability to do that. And when we don't ask ourselves powerful questions, when we don't have others like yourself
Yep.
who ask questions and say, let's discover this a little bit more. Let's get curious and let's figure out, hey, does this light you up?
Right.
Do you get amazing results?
Mhm.
If you do, that's the path towards leaning in most. And I would say as adults, and I know you're a mother, I'm a dad, and the power of our questions is so important to us as we journey down this human experience, right? Asking us, I mean, kudos to you. Like, what do I truly want my life to look like? And then you figured out, okay, I want freedom. I want to be able to travel. I want to be able to never work in an office again. And then you went out and created that. But so many times we're not asking those difficult questions to challenge the status quo and really lean into what truly lights us up.
Exactly, and we have to do that because otherwise, if you are an entrepreneur, excuse me, or if you're even in a position with a company, you'll end up staying with a company that doesn't fulfill you, or you'll end up building a business that you resent, even a successful one. And so it's really important to understand where you want to go and to reverse engineer that, not only with your gifts, but with the model, with the strategy that's going to take you there. Because a big pattern that you have to break, especially when you're coming out of corporate, is that default into like hustle mode, and I've got to
Mhm.
grind and I've got to pull in all of these things. And that culture, that hustle culture, is toxic to your
Yep.
body, to your relationships, to our world. And so it's really important that you have clarity, and that you have an outside sounding board that is not your family,
Mhm.
or your close friends who may be, stuck themselves, to go on that journey and make the right decision for you.
Here's an interesting question for you. You mentioned, close friends who aren't on that journey. One thing I'm sure you've experienced, my circle changed tremendously when I went down that personal development rabbit hole. How did that happen for you?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you have to. It can be very isolating. Can
Mhm.
be very lonely when you are on a healthier path, because
Yep.
if you have been friends with people that like to party,
Mhm.
or, that's their interests are going to be around that. So for you to say, "Oh no, I'm not drinking," or "I don't want to be in that environment. I don't want to wake up with a hangover. I want to wake up and go into a hike the next day.
Yeah.
I want to be fully engaged." It's just a different mindset. And so, yes, it becomes very important to surround yourself with great role models and people who, share your same values. And you might find that when you're on the path, your values will shift. Or maybe you just didn't understand your values, your true values, and you were a bit
Right.
lost. And that's okay. That's part of your journey. It's nothing to be ashamed of or feel guilt around. It's you have the awareness and you make the change and you're moving forward.
Yeah, I found that. So 2022, I gave up drinking and did not have a single sip of alcohol. And it was, it's amazing where we've gotten to in society, where when you do that, people are like, okay, what happened? Do you have a problem? Like, no, I just said, I had already really cut back from my, college days in my 20s and 30s. I just didn't want to waste one day, one gift of a day that we get on this earth, not being at 100%, not going for a hike, not getting out in nature, and not spending time with my family. So it's interesting when you choose to go that path. It takes some intestinal fortitude, it takes some grit, it takes some determination, and it takes, you know, leaning into your intuition to say, no, this is the path for me. Your path might be different. I still love you, but
Yeah.
this is the path for me. And I think that in itself, back to fear, is very fear inducing for people, right? Am I going to be accepted? What's going to happen? And I know when I was deliberating it, I didn't tell my wife till like Valentine's Day, and then didn't tell my extended family till mid-February when I had made that decision. And it was probably due to, what are they going to think? Right.
Yeah, that discomfort. But nobody ever regrets taking better care of themselves.
No, I love to say to people now, like every hour of exercise you put in the gym, or 10 minutes of meditation, is another hour or 10 minutes you get to spend with your children and grandchildren later in life. And that's a great way to kind of frame it up.
Yeah, and you're role modeling for them what it means to be a leader of your family, and a leader of your business if you have clients. Like being congruent and showing up in that powerful way. To take care of yourself and not just say, "Hey, this is a good idea," but not do it. That's really important. And I always say that this has been very true for my journey. The more successful that you become, the more emphasis you must put on your self care. I share this in one of I've actually did several videos about it on my YouTube. And people are like, "Oh yeah, no one really talks about that." Well, yeah, because if you don't take care of yourself and you're just putting all this stress on your body and working and working and working, you will have a health crisis.
Right.
It's just a matter of time. So, you know, having a real lunch, taking time to exercise,
Yep.
having control of your calendar, having vacations where you're not tied to your computer. All of those are so important, because in the end, what really matters is your time, right? That's
Yep.
important. It becomes very important as you grow a company.
Yep, absolutely. Jessica, I've loved the conversation. Where can people look you up? Where can they find more information on you?
You can find me on LinkedIn. Look me up at Jessica Yarbrough, or on my YouTube. Either way, on LinkedIn, be sure to send me a message. Let me know you heard me on this show, and I'll accept your connection.
Thanks so much for being on the show, Jessica.
Thanks for having me, Jeff.
Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Have an amazing, amazing rest of your day. Rise, fight, love, repeat. Get after it, and I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you for listening to your Hidden Edge podcast. You are now part of the movement, part of a tribe who's on a mission to uncover their hidden edge. We are stronger together, so please share this. Show up with one person in your network that you want to help. Together, we can empower others, and connected, we can make a dent